This is the troll. Just freaking.
Sure. Whatever. Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Tuesday. It's a freaking Tuesday. I'm not high enough for this shit. Welcome in. We got news to be talking about. I've been on with the Twitch peeps. We've been watching Ozzy and Bill Cosby, and every day is ridiculous. Every day is fucking ridiculous. We watched a ridiculous police chase earlier. I'm glad they rescued the puppy from that chase. They made sure the puppy was okay. It's a lot of Jeff Epstein tonight. That's what's in the cards for us. Senate Republican John Thune holds a press briefing following Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, refusing to force a vote on the release of Epstein files. We're going to hear from Thomas Massey. We're going to hear from Tim Burchett, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all the batshit crazy fuckers. But before that, we're going to hear about Trump accusing Obama of treason. An ex-FBI agent calls this the potentially biggest scandal ever. Republicans want you to think there's a scandal about Joe Biden and the horror at the border. Holding stupid ass hearings today on Joe Biden's handling of the border. Trump apparently didn't know that the Justice Department reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell. Dick Durbin apparently has a whistleblower. We've got yet another Epstein accuser we're going to hear an interview from. We're going to tell you every person who was a visitor to Epstein Island that we know of. China has banned a U.S. government employee from leaving the country. The search and rescue chief of FEMA has resigned. We're going to watch part of a court proceeding with an axe murderer out of Minnesota. You guys remember Dog the Bounty Hunter? Do you remember Dog the Bounty Hunter? I'm the dog. The big bad dog. Dog. This is one of those, like, it probably happened in the South, I assume. It sounds like a story about that came from the South. Dog's stepson shot dog's grandson. An investigation is underway. Do you guys remember Pat Tillman? Pat Tillman was a soldier. Okay, he was a football player first. He made it to the NFL. Was like a decent NFL player, I believe. Gives up a multi-million-dollar a year contract to sign up post 9/11 to sign up to serve his country. Gets to Iraq. Now there's a conspiracy theory around this because apparently Tillman had realized that the war was bullshit while he was there and had talked about, finishing his tour of duty and becoming a peace activist. Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire in Iraq. Pat Tillman's brother drove into a post office. He apparently had been live streaming about his altered self on social media. We got video of a hiker confronting an arsonist. Record heat on the East Coast. And apparently Rachel Maddow is going to debunk false AI stories about her. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening. Welcome in. Here's your meme of the day. Heard a rustling on the counter. Turns out it was a mouse getting a good taste of my edible. Buckle up, asshole. I don't know that Tillman's brother was live streaming when he drove into the post office. We find out together because I don't know the details of any story that I'm telling you. I find out with you. I try not to be a pre-watch Andy. Of course he still ate it. Meat Cakes, welcome in. Who in the chat would still eat the edible after a mouse took a little chunk out of it? Who would not eat the edible? I would. Depends on how well I know the mod. Fair. I would assume he didn't pee on it. Cut off a little bit. Okay, that's a perfectly sane thing to say. Cut off where the mouse chewed. Eat the rest of it. Only a chunk and no poopies. 5 second. Maddie B is imposing the 5 second rule. I don't think you walked in on the mouse eating it though. So it's probably been some time. This is a fun game, isn't it? The knowledge pretty clean. We do not have that information, but he said he heard rustling on the counter. So possibly he discovered it shortly after. Do you think the mouse is feeling really good? Is that enough to make a mouse trip? Mouse is awfully small. It looked like he got a good bite of it, but then again, it's a brownie, so it's hard to actually tell how much he ate of it. What, a 200 milligram brownie probably? That's a tip of a finger. I've never had an edible affect me. The time that I have gotten the highest was Sparkles used to make her own tincture. And I had a milkshake. I want to say that it was around St. Patty's Day or something, and it was like a shamrock milkshake, possibly. But I had a milkshake, and she, like, poured a lot into my milkshake. And that's like the hardest I've ever gone. I can't tell you exactly how much it was. but I was in the floor. We did a freak show. I was in the floor. The video probably exists. For Thanksgiving, I was in the floor. I didn't say it was a bad experience. I just said I was in the floor. Those of you who don't know, just sometimes I have to get in the floor. Oh, yours was. Oh, I'm sorry, War Machine. My apologies. Did I tell everybody, hey, Flo, Maddie B, Textillion, Silent, welcome in. Anybody else come in here on me that I didn't see? Byronic! Me Cakes, Maddie. I feel like there's more of you. There's too many. Media Winch. White Room. I am sorry. Caused War Machine to have to get the grippy socks. I think something like that with my buddy that came down and did mushrooms with me. I'm afraid I might have grippy socked him or something. I told him there was something that like he didn't tell me about. There's something he's dealing with. And like I think I've been proven true. Been proven correct on that. Been proven true. God damn. I'm either not high enough or too high for this shit. Let's get to the news. Let's talk about Trump and Obama. He apparently went off the rails today.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room.
All my homies were there.
This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do.
It's also not like he's talking like it's the actual declaration. It is not the actual declaration.
But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say.
The claim, as far as I can tell, to recap, the claim, as far as I can tell, is that they have released memos that show that Obama knew before he came out and made the announcement of Russian interference, yada, yada, that he knew that Russia didn't affect the vote tally, which is true. That they tried to hack 2 machines, they couldn't get into them. So now, what the right wing is doing is like a type of obfuscation. That they're like, oh, see, Obama knew, and he still came out and did the Russia collusion hoax. And Obama never made the claim that Russia interfered with the vote tallies or the machines. So that is the central claim. It's laughable on its face, but he's never going to say it. Fox News hasn't said it. Their base just is like, see, Obama committed treason. Like, you ask them how, they can't describe it.
Let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things.
How does he know the word obfuscate?
Even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries. but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents.
Squirrel.
And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And
It wasn't?
The one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million and the Democrats
Not at all.
for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just...
I remember he's got like a delegation from the Philippines sitting to his right.
You know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got...
The current president of the Philippines, which I think is Duterte's daughter.
I don't care too much about it. But that was a big thing. No. We caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones. And then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there.
No, it's Bong Marcos. The president of the Philippines is Bong Marcos. So that was who Trump was meeting with. The president of the Philippines at the White House. This is Bong Marcos.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country.
You didn't call him Bong.
In the Philippines, and there's great respect, or I couldn't say it, so congratulations. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them.
Oh, Bong is a nickname. He is Ferdinand Bong Romualdez Marcos Jr.
They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing.
Oh, but Duterte's daughter is the vice president. That's where I was
relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And Pete, I would say that...
So his nickname is Bong.
Relationship. Great partner.
Light one up, tip one back.
I want to say it's an honor to have you. We're going to talk about trade today. And we're very close to finishing a trade deal, big trade deal actually. And we do a lot of business with you. It's a lot of income coming in for both groups. But I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big, and they're going to get bigger under.
They apparently struck some sort of trade deal, and now have 19% tariffs with the Philippines. I can't imagine what we import from the Philippines. But hey, I'm open. Like, did the Obama administration do something underhanded? If they did, let's find out.
Department of Justice has confirmed it received the criminal referral on stunning claims Obama administration officials manufactured and politicized intelligence about false Russian collusion in the 2016.
Okay, I don't want to make judgments about her based upon her looks. But there's a box of wine under her desk, right?
Presidential election. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a declassified report containing more than 100 pages of emails, memos, and internal communications.
Her face is lopsided.
And joining us this morning to discuss is the former head of the Chicago PD and 23-year veteran of the FBI as a special agent in charge, Jody Weeks. Good morning to you, Jody.
Good morning.
Gabbard claims these documents show former President Obama directed John Brennan, James Comey, Susan Rice, James Clapper, among others, to produce manufactured intelligence to undermine President Trump after he was elected. Just from your...
This is the first I'm hearing that Obama ordered them to produce manufactured intelligence, and I have zero evidence. I cannot tell you what document she is citing that comes from.
Experience and in your years in the FBI, what were your thoughts when you heard about this, especially that it affected some of the top leaders of the intelligence community?
Jan, without a doubt, if this is true, this is the biggest political scandal in my lifetime.
His face is crooked too.
You have a sitting president of the United States who directs a team to fabricate an intel assessment showing that the Russians were involved in the 2016 election, trying to influence it to favor Donald Trump. Now, that assessment apparently contradicted assessments before and after the election, saying that it was a very low probability that Russia had actually interfered in the election. And why was this done?
What? No.
The incoming president. You know, Jan, for a year we have heard how Donald Trump was a threat to our democracy. We've heard that until our ears have bled. But if this is true, that is a threat to our democracy, and it must be investigated.
I want to go back to something you said, because what's so striking is that a Senate committee and two special counsels didn't see this during their investigation years ago. I want to read you what
because there is nothing to see.
She said this on Sunday Morning Futures. There is no rational or logical explanation for why they failed. The only logical conclusion that I can draw in this is that there was direct intent to cover up the truth about what occurred and who was responsible, and the broad network of how this seditious conspiracy was concocted and who exactly was responsible for carrying it out. What's your response to that? And what's next in all of this, Jody?
And are they going to use this as some sort of pretext?
What's going to happen? First, there's going to be an in-depth review of her report. And you got to remember, there's a couple reports out there that actually support what the President Obama put out. The Mueller report, the Durham report, they did say there was election interference. You had a Senate report that went along with that.
Yes, they said seditious.
There's a report that actually supported what Tulsi Gabbard said.
Bondi
So there's
said
going to be
seditious.
a massive document review. If it's accurate, though, how did they miss it? 3 different reports came forward and they missed this.
But what did they miss, sir?
Which perhaps could be. But what would be worse, what if it was intentional because of the people involved? Luckily, on Sunday, I heard from Director Gabbard that she's had some whistleblowers come forward. That is a huge change in the equation, because now, after a thorough, tedious document review, if you now have individuals that you can talk to discuss your findings, that is a really big deal. And hopefully, let's pray that we will get to the bottom of this.
The Tones, I had a dude the other day argue that seditious conspiracy is a lesser charge than actual sedition, that it's not committing sedition. But what seditious conspiracy means is just that multiple people conspired to commit sedition. And like, it's not a lesser charge or anything, because there's several, like the Proud Boys and the 3%ers or whatever, Patriot Front, they were charged with seditious conspiracy. And some dude was like, see, they didn't even get charged with sedition. I'm like, no, they did. Conspiracy just means that there were multiple people involved in it instead of just one person. But like, what? zero evidence. They have provided, they have just ran with this claim, and they have gone further than the administration has gone. And they've like flat out said like Obama tried to manufacture intelligence. There is zero evidence of that whatsoever.
There be indictments and prosecutions finally.
You know, Jan, there has to be. There's been so many explosive allegations. We've got a report that Comey and Brennan are under investigation. Now we get an allegation that involves a sitting president, Barack Obama. If there are no indictments and no prosecutions, this administration has to give a very candid and a very thorough explanation as to why not. Otherwise, they're going to lose all credibility, and they will become a modern-day little boy who cried wolf story. But
they don't have any credibility.
Without accountability, there is no trust. So I can tell you right now, the Department of Justice and the FBI, they are definitely on the clock because they're going to have to deliver on this one way or the other.
In your experience, how long will this take?
Oh, that's tough to say. Look at these special counsel. They go on for years. But I've got to think this is so explosive.
This guy's an idiot.
I hope we would get something in 3 to 6 months. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but it cannot go on for years. And there has to be updates as to what is going on. Otherwise, people are just going to look at this and go, yeah, another nothing burger.
It is a nothing burger.
FBI Special Agent in Charge and former Chicago Police Chief Jody Weeks. Great to see you, sir. Thanks for joining.
They are threatening the Obama administration. They're just throwing everything they can at the wall to see if something sticks that distracts from Epstein, which we're going to talk about here shortly. But at today's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Ashley Moody decried former President Biden and his border policies. This was Marco Rubio's replacement. Libertad, Tones, welcome in.
Senator here, certainly the newest on judiciary, and I am so glad that I am here in this capacity now because I served as Florida's Attorney General and watched in horror as Biden and his handlers and the radicals in charge of his administration systematically intentionally broke down all of the structures and security safeguards at the border. And it was only through litigation that we were able to uncover documents that showed their plan was in place from day one. In fact, when they started rolling out executive orders dismantling everything that the Trump administration had put into place, they were warned by those in the administration and Border Patrol and DHS that if you do this, we will immediately be overrun. We will immediately lose any control at the border, and we do not have the ability to keep pace with the detention capacity that will be needed. And in fact, ignoring all of those warnings by their own administration, they not only went ahead and issued the executive orders dismantling everything that Trump had put into place, they then asked for less money for detention beds. And the consequences and the chaos that unfolded
sounds amazing
was predicted by their own administration. It put law enforcement at the border at risk. It put families and communities at risk. It put our nation's sovereignty and security at risk as more and more people come into this country with previous criminal backgrounds and those that were on the.
So what you're saying is that because, man, by the time Biden left office, border crossings were back to like 2019 levels. So are you saying that Biden's policies worked without having to detain, round up people the way that the Trump administration did? Because that's what I'm hearing. And then I'm hearing that these law enforcement officials that were saying that the Biden administration should lock more people up were in the wrong.
The terrorist watch list. And as I pursued litigation, a judge said, Biden and his administration has turned our border into nothing more than a meaningless line in the sand. And when there were warnings that our border would be overrun when Title 42 was expiring, Florida uncovered documents saying that their grand plan was to step back and let it be overrun. And in my litigation as Florida's Attorney General, I
hate this
uncovered that
woman.
not only were they pushing more and more and more and more and more historic numbers into our country unvetted, that they established quotas every day to make sure that Border Patrol pushed a certain amount of numbers into our country that was barely vetted. So as Attorney General, when I had sheriffs from all over my state calling me to say that the Biden administration was canceling detainers on criminals in their jails and telling them to release them back into the communities, I was horrified. Horrified not only because I work with law enforcement across the state and I knew that was what that was doing to their communities, but horrified because I knew that went against not just the policies of Republicans.
But let's be honest. She can be my GOP mommy. Well, I certainly didn't stop it on a flattering screenshot. Let me try again.
Republican administrations, but Democratic.
Okay, never mind. I take it back.
It was a radical's wish list. They had changed the entire policy on whether or not we were going to deport serious felony offenders.
Tone says she's not that hot.
It was no. And the resulting crime that occurred across this country as a result was predicted. I predicted from the beginning of this administration, I was one of the first states to sue when they stopped deporting people here illegally that were committing crimes.
Oh, she's a total Karen.
In our
Shelly, welcome in.
So the gaslighting that started under the last administration when Mayorkas showed up and said the border is secure, and I guess he thought the American people would believe that, it's still going on. There are so many felony offenders that are here illegally in our country that because Biden released them, this administration has to do the hard work of tracking people down and deporting anywhere from 11 million to 20 million people because we don't know who's in this country. On a conservative estimate, 11 million people is more than the population of 42 of our states, and most of those people were unvetted. So you're going to hear a lot about people here that just want a better life. But make no mistake, Biden and his administration purposefully unleashed those here illegally committing crimes on you and on your families, and it was intentional. And when I brought it to their attention that they were no longer even deporting those in federal prisons that were completing sentences that were here illegally, that they were taking them back to where they were prosecuted and pushing them into those districts, like no other presidential administration had done, they fought me on giving me the information, and I had to sue them for that too. So we can have hearings all day long, and I can hear about these stories, but make no mistake, and the American public should not
make no mistake.
Deception. This was intentional, it was purposeful, and they're going to roll out everything that they can think of to stop any sort of progress to shoring up and making this country safe again until they get somebody back in office that will do the same thing. So I appreciate you, Chairman, for standing strong, and I would like to ask Sheriff.
Also, a great point, Shelley. Apparently, all these people coming over. Crime did not spike, it went down.
And I want to just know if you heard the same thing from people, from sheriffs that were forced because detainers were canceled to release people back into the communities.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, Senator. They were forcing them to release people back into the community. And we have had a long-standing partnership with Border Patrol, Department of Homeland Security, and our federal partners. And regardless of what is said, they were not issuing any orders to Border Patrol or to ICE telling them, don't enforce this, don't do that. But what the administration was doing was sending people to those stations and then giving them verbal orders. You're no longer allowed to help law enforcement do this. And much to Border Patrol's credit, they would sit down and figure out, okay, how do we circumvent this order and help them in another way? They would figure out how to help us in a way that they hadn't been strictly forbidden from doing until the Biden administration would realize that they had figured a way around that order. And then the Biden administration would issue a new verbal order to them, tell them they couldn't do that. And they would sit down and figure out another way. So the administration wasn't
poor, homely looking woman
paper trail. What they were smart enough to do is they were smart enough to send people to those stations and go, you quit helping local law enforcement. You quit taking these actions.
Well,
And-
indeed, they held back as much paper as they could until attorneys general like me and others pushed in court and got it and found the documents that showed they knew this was happening their first month in office. They knew we would be overwhelmed, and they did it anyway. And if I just might, Chairman, I am a mother as well, and I just want to say thank you. I can't imagine the loss of a child, but sharing those stories and making sure this never happens again in our country, because we can follow the law, we can do what's right. I want to thank the parents that share their stories, and I want to thank every law enforcement man and woman who signed up to wear the badge and stand between chaos and order and good and evil and made sure that this country
Libertad's on Wank Patrol.
founded on. And that is the people governing ourselves under a rule of law. And that was so important, and I'm so grateful to them every day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Scalise is the whip of the House. We are going to the House now. Representative Mary Meeks questioning, I believe she's got Pritzker here. He might not actually be here. They might just put him on the thumbnail. She is the representative from Illinois.
The gentleman yields back. The gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing today on the critical issue of maintaining the integrity of our voter rolls, or in the case of Illinois, restoring the integrity of our voter rolls.
You think dead people voted?
Voter rolls are accurate and contain only eligible voters is essential to the public's confidence in our elections. For far too long, states like Illinois have failed to uphold the law and carry out their responsibilities under the National Voter Registration Act. I was pleased to see that the Department of Justice recently filed a statement of interest in Judicial Watch's lawsuit against the Illinois State Board of Elections. As noted in Judicial Watch's lawsuit, Illinois has refused to develop a statewide program for voter roll maintenance. In fact, the DOJ intervention in Illinois found, according to the 2022 Election Administration Voting Survey conducted by the Election Assistance Commission, unbelievably, 34 jurisdictions in Illinois simply failed to report any data regarding list maintenance removals under the National Voter Registration Act. 19 of these 34 counties failed to report any data regarding registrants removed due to death, meaning no one died in 19 counties.
Oh, I thought a cat was thrown up. It's just a cat eating really loudly.
Obviously, we're keeping these people on the voter rolls. In 23 Illinois counties, fewer than 100 registrations were canceled during a 2-year period.
We're in the House now. Duckworth is senator.
Registrations, which Judicial Watch notes is an absurdly small
Judicial Watch,
and demonstrates Illinois' lack of commitment to maintain clean voter rolls under the NVRA. As this committee is well
citing fucking Judicial Watch, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Irregularities, and I appreciate the opportunity to highlight this important issue today. So, Mr. Adams, what is required under the reasonable effort standard for voter list maintenance?
Well, almost nothing, and that's what, in my written testimony, you'll find the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled if you have a program, it's good enough. It doesn't matter if the proof is in the pudding. It doesn't matter if it's effective. One thing Congress might do on the data that you just talked about, Congressman Miller, is when I was at the Justice Department, I brought the case of United States versus Alabama, and I brought the case of United States versus Vermont. And those two states were not reporting the data that you were just talking about, but it's only for you.
And there's a lot of turnover in the House, so there's no way to keep up with all of them. I can't do it.
To report those data for regular voters. Congress just left out regular voters when they did the NVRA for the EVE survey. That's what you're referring to. It's EVE, the Election Assistance Commission. You might extend that to the entire survey. that states have to do that. It's optional. They don't have to report any data unless it's a military voter.
Well, that's why we're having this hearing, to highlight this and to make changes. So, Mr. Reamer, as a former Virginia State Board of Elections official, how do election officials traditionally prescribe regulations to conduct voter list maintenance?
Absolutely. It is a combination of statutory obligations that the General Assembly in Virginia set, which complement the NVRA. And while I was in Virginia, Governor McDonnell was very aggressive about beefing up the statutory provisions that we had to follow. We had to do annual reports to the General Assembly outlining in detail our list maintenance activities. There were more frequent checks that we had to make as well. The issue I brought up about finding the 10,000 dead voters on our voter rolls that had been there for so long, that's something that should have been caught, but no one had ever gone back and say, let's take a look at the entire death file and compare it against the voter registration list. Everyone assumed that these periodic comparisons were
like a non-starter issue,
but they weren't. And for some reason, we had this.
That woman's face is so shiny.
That were enshrined in the law that we had to follow, and I think a lot.
Is she under glass?
More statutes and more regulations. Just being more prescriptive in what they need to do.
So how often did the state direct appropriate departments or officials to remove ineligible
cream on her face?
As frequently as possible. As frequently as possible. We made a major cancellation leading up to the 2013 general election, promptly got sued. We got sued several times on list maintenance issues because of how aggressive we were in the state.
Thank you for your work. Thank you, Chairman.
Of the cases they find of dead people that voted, it's usually someone who voted like early voting, mail-in voting, and then died before the election. But they were legally allowed to vote when they voted. He was like, fuck this, I'm gone now. He wouldn't decide to sit down. We're not going to get any more clips out of the house. Bo Magada, welcome in. No more clips out of the house for the next little bit. Politically, my friend, the Speaker of the House deciding to shut the House down as opposed to have a vote on Epstein.
But right now, let's turn to Capitol Hill, where some lawmakers are joining the push to pressure the Trump administration to release more of the Jeffrey Epstein files. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he says there won't be a vote on a Democrat-sponsored resolution calling for disclosure of those files held.
Wait, I thought it was co-sponsored. I thought it was co-sponsored by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Are those two different bills?
By the Justice Department until after the August recess. Now, Speaker Johnson had this to say just a short time ago. Listen.
The president has made a request to the courts in the grand jury testimony and the files there, for example, and the court should turn that over, and that will be a continuing and ongoing quest. Now, what we refuse to do is participate in another one of the Democrats' political games. This is a serious matter. We are not going to let them use this as a political battering ram. The Rules Committee became the ground for them to do that. We're not going to allow them to engage in that charade anymore.
It's a charade.
Now in CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian. Nicole, thank you for your time today. What do you hear?
By the way, Ro Khanna running for president. I didn't see that one coming.
That vote.
Well, I wouldn't say that he's delaying it. What he tried to explain to us reporters as I was in that press conference as well is that, look, we believe that the administration is acting on this, so why would we vote on something if the administration has kind of already put the wheels of motion in progress?
No, he's running for president. He's been in South Carolina.
Efforts to try to unseal some of that grand jury testimony involving the Epstein case. So from that standpoint, the speaker doesn't necessarily see a need to rush or put the cart in front of the horse. So that is basically his argument. He also feels that Democrats
would have expected him to go for a Senate seat or something.
With respect to releasing the Epstein files is more political in nature. He argues, Democrats have been quiet on this.
The governorship that's open.
So why all of a sudden is there this clamor? So he wants to be more judicious in terms of taking his time and having the body take its time in terms of moving ahead with a vote on this. Nonetheless, though, it is causing a bit of havoc in the House in the sense that we saw last night the Rules Committee tried to move forward on other legislation completely unrelated, but there were some members on the panel who did want to pursue a vote with respect to releasing the Epstein files. They tried to push for that in the Rules Committee vote. Ultimately, the committee disbanded without reaching an agreement, and so what that means is that now the House cannot move forward on other pieces of legislation because there are no rules guiding that process, and consequently we just learned a short time ago that the House is now canceling its votes for Thursday, meaning that there will be a truncated week here in the House, in part because of this
no Epstein vote
over the Epstein files.
And what are lawmakers working on that could be put on the back burner as of right now?
Well, at this point, again, nothing can really move forward in the House chamber because you need a rule to kind of guide that process. That's why before any major vote, the Rules Committee will meet. They will set the rules for debate and how things should work with respect to legislation, and then they will hold that official vote on the House floor. So because they couldn't reach agreement yesterday in the committee, they cannot move forward on any other pieces of legislation. For instance, they were going to take up an immigration-related measure this week. Now that's kind of put on hold. Now, part of the reason for this, again, with respect to the Epstein files, is you do have a bipartisan resolution that is out there sponsored by Congressman Ro Khanna of California, a Democrat, and Tom Massey, a Republican.
I think she's running for governor.
Pushing for a vote on.
I don't think we're going to have to put up with her, at least not next time.
Epstein files within 30.
Going to try to rehab her image a bit.
They have bipartisan support for this measure, that they would like to see a vote on this resolution before the August recess. But again, all of this is.
But I could be wrong. I just fell out of a coconut tree.
Ongoing
You think
impasse.
you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill for us today. Thank you so much for your time.
But I think she runs for governor, and if she runs for president again, it's down the road. Here is Representative Thomas Massey, who has sponsored at least a bill, if not the Ro Khanna bill.
Is far better. So she's making a good choice. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Massey. The poll cameras here. Just looking ahead now, it seems like the House may leave even earlier. How does that affect your attempts to be able to get signatures for your discharge petition?
So the discharge petition isn't ripe for 7 legislative days, and unless we stay through Friday, which wasn't even on the calendar, we can't get it to ripen and collect signatures before recess.
Were you surprised at all to see the Rules Committee kind of come to a standstill last night over this issue? I mean, you used to be on the Rules Committee, and obviously you've been caring a lot about that transparency in the Epstein case. Was that surprising at all?
No, it's not surprising to me. I don't think this issue is going away over August. I think that was the admonition of our speaker in there, was just sort of stick your head in the sand, let the administration maybe dissipate this by dribbling some stuff out. I mean, I'm heavily paraphrasing, but work. I mean, people have wanted these files for years. And then, you know, the president's staff, administration, his own children, his vice president have promised that these files would come out, and now we're being told it's a hoax. It doesn't wash. And whether it's Republican, Democrat, or Independent,
that dog don't bark.
It's only like 5 or 6% who don't want the files out.
Do you think the president's at risk of losing his base over this issue?
Well, you don't lose your base over one single thing, but he's eroding his base. More importantly, if we don't take the right side of this issue, it's going to cost us votes in the midterms. People are becoming despondent, they're apathetic. Why would they go vote? If they gave us the House, the Senate, and the White House, and the transparency and justice they were promised doesn't happen, why should they vote in the midterms? And I think it could be a real problem for us. That's why it would behoove the Speaker to bring this to the floor. It would be in the best interest of this institution. Just vote this out. Give it to the Senate.
I'd hope.
Let them do their thing.
Do you think the president is losing trust with members like you who want more transparency?
I wouldn't say he's lost trust. I'm sort of in a, I would say, a different category. The president's consultants have spent $1.8 million against me, and I got a new tweet last night, or a tweet social last night, and clearly that was because I've done this Epstein file. Like, dogs don't bark at parked cars, right? This bill is moving. This is coming to a vote. We've got enough Republican co-sponsors of the bill, twice as many as we need right now, such that when they sign it, and every Democrat signs this, we're going to force a vote on it. It's not going away.
On appropriations at all, is there any chance you would back a CR if that's what they come to?
Here's the problem with the CR. We're talking about a CR of a CR that is a continuation of Biden spending.
Yeah.
We're talking about a CR that has the things that we just took out using rescissions. Why would we fund these things that we rescinded? It's ridiculous. The Appropriations Committee could be here over August and bang out all these bills. There's no reason with us controlling the White House, the Senate, and the House to not do single appropriations bills.
Because you're fucking dysfunctional.
The Senate, in order to pass them, would have to get Democratic support. You think that would water down any bills and make it hard to pass over here?
I think you could get support for individual bills. Like if you take a big giant omnibus that's not a CR, it's written solely by Republicans, of course that's going to be hard to get 60 votes in the Senate, but send the DOD approps over there and tell them this is it. You either vote for this or the DOD's not funded. And what that presents is not
good. Defund the DOD.
Within silos, it would give you sort of a battle that you could win instead of all-inclusive, either all the government's funded or not.
Just to be clear, are you opposed to any kind of CR in the fall in September?
I'm opposed to a CR. I mean, it's hard to say I'd be opposed to anything you can imagine at this point. But if it's a straight up CR without an across the board cut, like I've endorsed the idea of a CR with a 1% cut. That's what we actually are supposed to do. That was written into law when Kevin McCarthy was the speaker. But this speaker found a clever way out of it, he thinks. All right, thank you.
Once again, like, I hate Thomas Massey and disagree with him on probably at least 90% of the issues, if not more. But there's a lot of things that we could totally work with him on. Let's do the crazies, shall we? The next two are competing for the craziest representatives in the House. First one is Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett.
Camera makes love to me. That's what he just told me. She didn't tell me that, but he told me.
The camera makes love to him. Do you think anybody is making love to this man? This is the dude that says daggum all the time. Is he going to say daggum during this speech? During this
Sure.
questioning?
Camera makes love to me. That's what he just told me. She
Sports
didn't tell me
cards.
that, but he told me that.
So, sir, just looking last night, obviously, with the Rules Committee deciding that they couldn't move ahead, is it disappointing that some of these appropriations bills and other bills aren't going to get considered this week?
That's just spending more money, ma'am. I'm not disappointed when we can't spend more money. I think we need to move ahead, though, with talk to American public about really passing a budget and doing that in a manner. That's why I support individual spending bills. You do these big appropriations packages, and all these goodies are tucked in for the big boys in both parties, and they both cuss and point their finger at the other ones, and they giggle as we go off to recess. So I think we need to be more transparent to the American people.
Is it the right move, you think, to not bring up anything on Epstein before the recess? Is that something that could be addressed afterwards?
I think it's a mistake. I think we just get on with it. Let's get on with it. Do what the president asked. Release those records. I think that is a great.
Get on with it.
Because that is a lot of stuff. I think we better be very cautious though about these flight logs. Just because somebody flew on a dadgum plane doesn't mean they're a pedophile, and doesn't mean they need to be, you know.
He said daggum. He said it.
It's a mistake. I think we just get on with it. Let's get on with it. Do what the president asked. Release those records. I think that is a great start, actually, because that is a lot of stuff. I think we better be very cautious, though, about these flight logs. Just because somebody flew on a dadgum plane doesn't mean they're a pedophile, and doesn't mean they need to be, you know, publicly abused. But it's interesting to me the Democrats have waited 4 years to start doing this when they had it all. And now the question is, have these files been tampered with? This administration, the prior administration and the Biden administration had a habit of doing things that I think are illegal. And I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they claimed Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian, and then it comes out 30 of the top operatives in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, it was Russian, right?
Russian interference, and now we find out it's not.
No.
They're not to be trusted. This town is crooked as a
You can't be trusted.
And I don't trust it.
Is it a miscalculation from the speaker to not do
Do
it?
what?
Is it a miscalculation from the
I
speaker
don't
to
know.
not do it now?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him, but I plan on talking to him about it.
About this week?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning.
He blamed it on the Democrats. It's the Democrats' fault. He's competing with one Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene from the next state over from him for the craziest congressperson.
Non-binding resolution vote?
Because if he walks backwards, he may fall down. And
That would be terrible.
That would not be good. Are you going to sign on to this discharge petition, Thomas Massey's discharge petition?
Yes,
You
I'm
are.
going to.
And why is that?
I believe in transparency, and I believe the American people. This is a serious issue. I can tell you, for the past, more than a week, the highest volume of calls into my office have been about Epstein. People want the information. They don't want things covered up, especially when it comes to the most well-known convicted pedophile in modern day history. It's important to them, and they really want the information out.
The Speaker says he's not going to have a vote before the August recess. What do you say to him?
He's also not having votes on a lot of appropriation bills that we need to pass before August recess. I think there's a problem there. Speaker Johnson also didn't allow us to make amendments on the Genius Act last week that had a backdoor for a central bank digital currency and did not protect people's chain of custody when it comes to stablecoin and crypto. So there's a lot of things I would like to
Of course she's in on the crypto.
allowing us to do our job, like introduce amendments,
Hello, welcome in.
appropriations, which are important to our districts, by the way. Those appropriation requests is exactly what our districts deserve. And then as well as allowing discharge petitions come to the floor.
The president wants to move on, though. He thinks that enough has been released. What's your reaction to that?
Well, actually, I applaud the president and Pam Bondi for her move to unseal or ask the judge to unseal the records in the court.
There's not going to be anything in the grand jury testimony.
Do you think she should testify to Congress, Pam Bondi?
Not at this time. I think she's made the right move.
Those are not the files that we want.
Do that, so that's up to that court and that judge to see if the records are unsealed. I think also important things is we're going to be coming up on a September 30th deadline, government funding deadline, and I think the Republican-controlled Congress should be passing appropriations, not another CR.
Can I ask you, the Speaker said he doesn't like discharge petitions. He also said it's a tool of the minority. What do you make of those comments?
Well, I think discharge petitions...
Would I have Marjorie Taylor Greene as my GOP mommy? I went back and forth on it. I actually follow a woman on OnlyFans that I think looks a lot like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So probably when pressed, yeah, she can be my GOP mommy. She seems kinky. Well, I mean, like, I'm not judging her by her behavior, clearly. Or at least not all of it. Cicero, I only stick my dick in crazy. That's been my entire life. Do you not know this? I love... Yes, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Republican Senate Leader John Thune held a press conference earlier today.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're doing something this week in the Senate that is a bit unusual, that we haven't done in a while. We're actually teeing up an appropriations bill to vote on an amendment process. We're going to try and get consent. We're going to be on the Milcon VA legislative appropriations bill, and then hoping that we can get consent to add a couple of other bills into the package so that we can be voting on appropriations bills for the first time in a long time. And the reason I say that is because, as you all know, last year when Chuck Schumer was running the Senate, the Appropriations Committee reported out 11 of the 12 appropriations committees, or appropriations bills, I should say, all with bipartisan support, and not a single one of them was put on the floor for a vote. So we're fixing to change that. We think that there ought to be a regular appropriations process around here. The Democrats have indicated, because they're so upset over the rescissions bill last week, which, by the way, cut 1/10 of 1% of all federal spending, that somehow they can use that as an excuse to shut down the appropriations process and therefore...
There's a sexy lady.
We think that would be a big mistake.
That is a GOP mommy.
Better of it and work with us. And we're trying to give them what they've been asking for, is a bipartisan appropriations process, which, frankly, I think a lot of us around here think is long overdue. The other thing I want to mention quickly is the nominations process. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversations around that here lately. And the thing that strikes me, again, about the Democrats' behavior relative to nominations is a little data point. And that data
That's a GOP mommy.
Trump will be the first president in history
Nancy Pelosi can be my GOP mommy.
Nominees confirmed either by voice vote or unanimous consent, which is typically what happens around here, particularly with nominees that have pretty broad bipartisan support, which a lot of these nominees...
I feel like you don't want to know all the pictures that I have saved on this.
This is clearly an attempt to block and delay and obstruct. It is an example of Trump derangement.
That's my wallpaper right now. I got pictures of serial
Because
killers.
there are a lot of people out there who've been nominated to positions, and positions in our government that frankly need to be filled. They're important positions that need to be filled.
This woman killed her. I got pictures of Rihanna and her fish.
Keep grinding and work as hard as we can on the Republican side. If we're not going to get any cooperation from the Democrats...
A picture where I photoshopped myself in bed with a dude's wife.
Cut short the August recess to the president's request.
A picture of Media Winch.
And the difficulty you're facing on appropriations, it looks like it's going to be...
You never know.
The 60 votes you need on each of these bills. Are we looking at...
I have a folder called the download folder. And it's just like, because like I constantly have to be photoshopping shit. Making thumbnails. Ooh, here's Taylor Shabusiness. That's my girl right there. Here's a picture of Sparkles holding a picture of me. This could be a fun game here. We can see what we got. See what else I can pull up. Some dude kept trying to troll me, so I put me and him in Brokeback Mountain because he seemed like he was really anti-gay. This is. I think this woman is my mom. I think my mom was in some trucker magazine. And like my best friend was like, nah, there's no way your mom was in a trucker magazine. I showed him the picture. He's like, oh shit, that could be your mom. Like she did her foot like that all the time. It's like it's 75. So that would have been like right before she had my brother. What else I got in here? Harris Faulkner. It's something about her eyes. Really gets me going. I got this picture of. So Sparkles sent me this picture, but it was cropped. It was just the two white kids. And Sparkles sends it to me and she's like, oh, this is me and my boyfriend. And I just happened to see the whole picture somewhere else later. And I'm like, you cropped out the black kid. You racist. You know, I don't even know who this dude is. Why do I have this dude saved to my download folder? No idea in the world who he is. Here's a judge pointing at you. I might need it one day. Yeah, here's a Katy Perry meme. Sorry you're a peasant or whatever. Here's a picture of that statue. It's like a giant naked woman. I'm assuming this is around when the Pope died, because I got the Pope there. I got a Pope hat. Here's Cory Booker, maybe when he was doing his filibuster. Ooh, here's my girl. Here's Nancy. Nancy Mace can be my GOP mommy. I mean, Katy Perry sucks. And like her last albums have been just absolute trash. There's some dude with another dude in a wheelchair. Oh, here's a meme for you. Twin Peaks is just Saved by the Bell for people who like Joy Division. Why did that one make me laugh? What's this? I don't even know what this is. Kentucky, when horses get whipped for 2 minutes. So that must have been back at the Kentucky Derby. Oh, this is Kimberly Klasick. She ran for office in Baltimore. She can be my GOP mommy. She has a talk show. She has a talk show in Baltimore. Chrissy Nome can be my GOP mommy. I don't know who these people are. Why are they on my computer? Oh, this is probably Brian Rust. He's waking up America one show at a time with the Brian Rust Show. You can watch his show on Rumble. Me acting shy and uncomfortable in class when teacher talks about the ocean, so everyone thinks I'm a mermaid. Classic cat meme. Now that's a cat meme if I've ever seen a cat meme. No pain like a dad losing his muffin to a cat. What else do we have in Justin's downloads folder? Got a picture of Riley Gaines. I must say, she kind of looking hot there. She can be my GOP mommy. My standards. Wait a minute, how much is she worth? I don't know if it's worth selling out my trans homies, unless she's got a lot of money. There's Joni Ernst. The woman that started the whole GOP mommy bit. Okay. We never got to do this the other day. I was asked about Carrie Lake, if Carrie Lake could be my GOP mommy. And I don't like women with short hair. It's kind of a thing of mine. I didn't find Joni Ernst attractive when she first came into the Senate and had that haircut. Not very attractive to me. Stone cold fucking fox. I don't know what it is. I think I look better with long hair. I think everybody looks better with long hair. So it's just a me thing. So I was asked about Carrie Lake. I tried to find pictures of Carrie Lake with long hair to see if I could make an actual judgment. I could not find pictures of Carrie Lake with long hair, but later on, I was able to obtain one picture of Carrie Lake with long hair. That is Carrie Lake with an 80s mullet. And I'm going to have to say, I pass on Carrie Lake. She cannot be my GOP mommy. Unless she's worth a lot of money. You show me her net worth and then like maybe I will. Maybe I will change my tune on that one. I got a picture of the dude from the Beach Boys. Blank tombstone that just says "Here Lies." Some random big titty goth girl I friended on Facebook. She seemed really cool, but I lost that Facebook. I'll never find her again. When the milk isn't lactose free. And just so many random thoughts. Picture of Thomas Massey. No, that's Tim Burchett. I'm sorry. Picture of Tim Burchett. I have only exclusively messed with broke ladies. Crazy women. Do you enjoy looking through my folder? It's a fun trip. I try to clean it like I download 100 pictures like daily. I try to keep it cleaned out. You just don't scratch the crazy itch. That's exactly what oof. You would think Carrie, no, that was Ricky Lake, and Ricky Lake is awesome. Apparently Dick Durbin, we were doing this is the Republican Senate weekly press briefing. This is the Democratic weekly press briefing. Dick Durbin apparently has some sort of whistleblower.
Durbin. 2 weeks after the Senate confirmed Pam Bondi as Attorney General, she told Fox News the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients was, quote, sitting on my desk right now to review, end of quote.
Cory Booker looking like a big dumb goof.
Bondi released binders of documents related to Epstein to MAGA influencers. But the documents she released were already publicly available. The absence of any client list led to a predictable, immense blowback. Attorney General Bondi then returned to Fox News, the mothership, and made another startling claim that a whistleblower,
the mothership,
that the FBI withheld thousands of pages of documents, and then she promised the country would see the, quote, full Epstein.
They're just in the hallway of the Capitol.
Yet over the next 4 months, DOJ and FBI were silent on this issue until an unsigned July 7 memorandum was issued, finding that, quote, systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened during the 4 months between Attorney General Bondi's sweeping claims in February and this July 7th memorandum? Our Judiciary Committee learned the embarrassing truth. We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told...
Now, also, we found this out last week. They were also told to flag any documents that dealt with Donald Trump.
Told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned.
Yeah.
Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. President Trump has not helped the situation. Despite his administration continually making promises about transparency on Epstein and the existence of records that they have not produced, he is currently telling the country that it is all a, quote, scam, unquote. Last week, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, "My past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will," unquote, from President Trump. This is the way the president is talking about his own constituents, who are raising concerns about the very claims President Trump's campaign surrogates and administration officials have repeatedly raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for the confusion and mistrust around Epstein's prosecution. Attorney General Bondi, in particular, owes both Congress and the American people the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole truth and nothing less.
Now, apparently, Bondi reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell, and this was not something that Trump knew that she was going to do.
So what do you think this DOJ meeting that he just said he didn't know about, but he thinks is appropriate, is all about?
I can only speculate what it's about, given the statements that have been made both by Todd Blanche and by Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus. But Chris, one of the things that weighs heavily on me is where Ghislaine Maxwell is in her own journey in terms of contesting her conviction. Ghislaine Maxwell's 20-year sentence has been upheld by the Second Circuit. That's a federal court of appeals. She is now through the briefing before the Supreme Court to try and get the Supreme Court to review that conviction. The Department of Justice itself submitted a brief just last week in which they said that that conviction should stand because Ghislaine Maxwell was essentially not entitled to claim protection from a deal.
Who wants to bet that she gets exonerated or she exonerates Trump?
That's the only
and he ends up pardoning her.
The Supreme Court. Was it right to say that Ghislaine Maxwell has no rights to enforce that agreement and therefore it was just to prosecute her? So one of the things that could be on the table here is Ghislaine Maxwell is facing 20 years in prison. She's already incarcerated. Her only saving grace right now could be a presidential pardon. And so there might be a deal to be made here, a pardon in exchange for congressional testimony or public statements about who else was involved. Remember, if you're pardoned, you can no longer claim the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination because you have no prosecution to protect against. So if Ghislaine Maxwell is pardoned here, the Trump administration has, she has nothing to say in terms of protecting herself. She would have to talk if compelled to testify by a congressional committee. And the last thing I'll say is she would not be the first person who is incarcerated to be compelled to testify before a congressional committee. The fact that she's incarcerated now is not a barrier to bringing her before Congress to testify in either the House or the Senate.
We all want to see that.
Question, Tom, what are the chances Ghislaine Maxwell has some kind of critical information that hasn't been out there before? And what are the chances it comes out publicly, if it even exists?
I don't know what the heck she could testify to. I don't know what's going on here. The Trump administration successfully brought a case against Jeffrey Epstein in their first administration, a good investigation, and had a lot of evidence against him at the time when he died by suicide. He's dead. He's been dead for almost 6 years. So there's nothing new about Jeffrey Epstein as far as his activity since then that Ghislaine Maxwell or anybody else could testify to. As far as Ghislaine Maxwell, she is a convicted sex trafficker, period. Girls as young as 14 years old. That's what she's testified to. prosecutors found her, we reported this at the time, found the activity and the things that they uncovered in the course of their investigation with the FBI here in New York. They found her behavior to be abhorrent. They aggressively prosecuted her on that case and were able to get a 20-year, as Lisa said, a 20-year prison sentence as a result. So as far as what else she has to bring, as we reported at the time, I was in the hearing, probably between me and 20 feet between myself and Ghislaine Maxwell. Federal prosecutors said,
that's what I'm thinking, Lenny,
did not disagree with the fact that they never offered her a plea agreement at the time, nor had she asked for one. So it's not like she came to them and said, you know, you guys might think you have me, but I have all sorts of other information I can give you. That was not the case back when she was on the trial effectively for her life. It's not a life imprisonment, but 20 years at her age is a long time. So there's no information that's come up then. There's no information in all the files that have come out. I mean, she's been deposed. People have been deposed about her activities for a decade plus. There's no information that's come up that suggests any sort of a client list. The Justice Department, whether people want to believe it or not, have already told you that there's no client list that exists. We've found no evidence of that over the decade of our reporting on it. So what else does she have to offer? There's all sorts of, to Lisa's point about the speculation about the types of things that she could say, the types of things politically she could say. I'm a law enforcement reporter. I'm focused on the law. I'm focused on criminality. I don't know what else she adds to the conversation at this point. And I do wonder what the victims think about the opportunity that she has a chance to speak out publicly, not in the court of law. Presumably she could be held liable for lying to Congress if she did something along those lines. But what does she have to offer at this point? That's the big question. She's absolutely going to argue, again, to something Elisa alluded to going through the appellate system. She's talked about this nonstop, the idea that she was covered by the non-prosecution agreement, which is a real stretch. The courts have already ruled with respect to the law, or literally any legal analyst you could possibly talk to. So I just don't understand what the tactic is here to continue to bring this up. The Trump administration's Justice Department in the first term, if you want to look at it as far as, you know, convictions they were able to get, charges they were able to bring, they already won. So we're going back and revisiting this issue.
I understand what you're both saying, approaching it from the law, but let's approach it from politics. And what we all know, Jeremy, is that the MAGA base wants answers, whether or not
we all want answers
are legitimate, whether or not all of the information is already out there. They want something that they haven't seen yet. And just now, and the president is continuing to answer questions, he's been talking while we were talking about Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. He's been talking about the 2020 election and how he was robbed. He's been talking about the auto pen. He's been talking about anything that's not related to Epstein. And then he said something earlier, not only that he didn't know about Blanche, but he wants people to stop talking about this nonsense. I'm not paying attention. Mm-hmm. What do you see is going on here?
He is literally throwing out every other piece of red meat in conspiracy, right-wing conspiracy world that he can at the moment. You know, some of these stories have, you know, more legitimacy to them than others, but you know, the bottom line is here, he is going to continue to embellish facts about, for example, what the Obama administration supposedly did to block his election in 2016. That's a latest fixation of his and of some of the MAGA influencers on the right. I mean, the problem is, as Tom laid out, there is nothing that the Trump administration can give to the Trump base right now that will satisfy them. As Thomas said, it doesn't exist, but even if it did exist, it wouldn't satisfy them because that's what conspiracy theories are. They are never ending and self-perpetuating.
Well, that's the problem, right? Let's say that they release the grand jury transcripts and there's a ton of redactions.
Maybe I know what they're going to say. Grand jury transcripts are going to be the testimony that was used in the indictment against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We already know the indictments are a summary of the grand jury testimony. To think that there's some sort of a unearthed piece of thing that's in there, they present the case to the grand jury that they want them to vote on to get to an indictment. So, yes, there might be more granular detail, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't expect there to be any sort of...
But my point is, if there's anything at all that's redacted, that's another basis for a conspiracy theory.
That is correct. And there will be, to the extent that a federal judge allows any of these things to see the light of day. And that is a big if, because for the most part, they aren't released to the public. The law precludes it. But let's just say for the sake of argument, they will be redacted heavily. Why? Because there's all sorts of victim identifying information in there and not just their names. Chris, think about it this way. I could write something about my interactions with you and I would take your name away from it. But if I talked about your physical identifying details, where you lived, your phone number, where you went to school, people could piece together a composite that we're talking about Chris Jansing. And so there is going to be a ton of redactions in anything that's released publicly from the grand jury. I would suggest to people who are eager for more details, there are tons of deposition transcripts that have been unsealed in various civil litigations involving Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I read 2 yesterday, one where Ghislaine Maxwell was the deponent, another where Jeffrey Epstein was the deponent. MAGA wants this handed to them in a binder with a bow wrapped around it, but anybody who has a computer and a Pacer password can get all the access they want to information, including very pointed questions from, for example, Virginia Giuffre. She's one of the most famous victims. Her lawyer to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell asking about other people who might be implicated. But the truth remains that Jeffrey Epstein operated a sex trafficking ring principally for his own benefit. As one of the victim's lawyers has said, he was both the pimp and the John. That is an inconvenient truth that MAGA world does not want to accept. They want to see that there is a long list of clients, but for the most part, with a handful of exceptions, the person who was benefited by this perverse sex trafficking ring was Jeffrey Epstein and at times Ghislaine Maxwell.
Nah, there's more to it. It's too much going on. Nope. She cited accusers. Let's hear from one of the accusers on with CNN last night.
My next guest, as promised, is Maria Farmer, who says Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell sexually assaulted her. So she says she saw Trump at Epstein's office late at night in 1995. At the time, she was 25 years old. Epstein had just hired Farmer, who was an artist, to help him acquire art. Farmer urged the FBI to look at Trump's connections to Epstein twice, in 1996 and again in 2006, which, of course, means Trump's name could very well be in those government files that the administration is refusing to release. Maria Farmer is now suing the government to try to get the unredacted files about the allegations she brought forward about Epstein. President Trump has not been the target of any investigation related to Epstein, nor has he been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in this case. Maria Farmer is out front now for her first television interview, sharing her story since filing her lawsuit, and she is joined by her attorney, Jennifer Freeman. So thanks very much to both of you. And Maria, I want to give everyone a chance to understand exactly what happened here. I mean, you said that Jeffrey Epstein calls you to come to his office and you go, and then you're sitting there waiting and Donald Trump walks in. What happened?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on, Aaron. I really appreciate it because I need to say up front that I've waited 3 decades to be able to even be heard about this because the government has not held any of the people I reported accountable. And so basically the night before I went in, before I began working for Epstein, he called me at very late in the evening and asked me to come up to the Helmsley Palace offices. And I didn't even have money for a subway token. It's kind of embarrassing. So I had to go running up there. And so I told Epstein, I'll be up there. It'll probably take me until like 9. He's like, okay. So I get there and I'm waiting. It's dark. Like there's no light on in the offices. And I thought that was really weird. So I'm seated against the wall in the main part of the offices and just waiting for Epstein. And he says, I'll be out in a minute, and he's got the door closed. And then a few minutes later, this man walks in a business suit, kind of tall, imposing. And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? I'm supposed to be working for Epstein and interviewing with him. Why is Donald Trump here? And he walked up about a few feet from me and just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something. It was really weird, like smirking, kind of. And I felt threatened, so I made an ugly face. And when I made that ugly face, Epstein walked out from the offices on this side. Trump's standing here, I'm here. And he walks out of his office and he goes, oh, no, no, no. He was laughing at me. And he goes, she's not here for you. Follow me, right? And he escorts him in to this other room. And I always wondered, who was she in there? Was someone in there, right? And I have no way of knowing, nothing. But I felt very intimidated because I had on running shorts and I was vulnerable, sweaty, just a nobody in an office with these two men. That it felt very predatory and uncomfortable. I have to say that when I made that ugly face, he backed off. It wasn't like he was aggressive after that, but he made a really vulgar comment following. And I don't know if it was like, you know, like locker room talk in the 90s, the way men were, but he made a joke to Epstein, oh, I thought she was 16. And I thought that was so strange because at the time my sister she was 15 actually. And I didn't think it was funny, even though it was just a little bit inappropriate, but I thought, I don't know what it was. But anyway, and then they entered that room.
So Epstein says, she's not for you. And then when did Trump make the comment about your age? Again, you were 25 at the time, right? So, I mean, you know, you were a 25-year-old woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
But
a
was it
woman,
after Epstein
right.
said that comment
But-
that he made the comment about age, or?
Yes. So he first said, no, she's not here for you, which immediately made me feel weird. Like, was there someone there, right, in that other room? And so that's another reason I was nervous. And so as soon as he said that, laughed, I made the face, all that stuff, they started to walk away into that other room where he's escorting him. He goes, come with me. And he takes Trump into this other room in the offices at 9 o'clock at night. And there's no one else in, you know, that I know of in these offices, but was someone in that room. So I always wondered what that was about. And anyway, that comment was made under his breath as they were entering that room.
As they were in that room.
And I thought it was rude. I thought it was rude. I don't care what age I was. Like, it's rude to say.
Which, Jennifer, I guess, brings me to where you are now. I know you're helping Maria now sue to get the unredacted government files related to her story. What do you expect these will show?
Well, we would really like
Jen
to.
said, yes,
Excuse
I can
me.
send it again.
We'd really like to understand what's in those files because we really have never had access to them. We've been making FOIA requests, and we had to bring a lawsuit to get access to the files, as well as to hold the government accountable, which is what this suit is really about.
So, Maria, when you talk about the closeness of the relationship, when you were working for Epstein, you say that he was present very regularly. How close were they, as far as you were able to tell?
Well, like Epstein said, he inherited him in the divorce. You know, he said, basically, you're going to see us together all the time. We're fixtures because in the divorce, I inherited Trump and Ghislaine inherited Ivana. So he said, you're not going to see him at the house the way you see Ivana, and you're not going to see her at the offices the way you see Trump. And, you know, it was just, it was a known thing, like among the staff and everyone, that they were best friends. And Epstein bragged about it. And I gave up 30 years to report this. And it's a very serious thing to fight the government. You know, it's been unbelievable. I've been fighting 2 cancers because of it.
Maria, when we reached out to the White House for a comment, they responded, and I'll just read for you what they said.
Okay.
Quote, the president was never in Epstein's office, and in fact, the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep.
Bullshit.
They then say that Trump, you know, they're clear there. They say he was never in Epstein's office, which, of course, from the original incident
Yes,
that
he
you're
was.
talking about is where this occurred, according to your recollection, at
Yes.
the Helmsley building in
He
New
was
York.
absolutely in the offices.
So what do you say when they give a
He's
response
lying.
like this?
Yes. I say that they're being disrespectful to the fact that I have given up my entire life for this case just to have it investigated. And I'm really sorry for him that he's caught, but, you know, I don't know what to say to that. He's lying. I don't appreciate it. He was absolutely at the offices, and it was 9 o'clock at night. I thought it was inappropriate. But also, they were best friends at the time. So what I say to that is, I don't think he's really responding to the fact, and what does he mean, the offices? He needs to be specific, because he was in the Helmsley Palace offices. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate so much both of your time, and Maria, your
barely knew the
to
guy.
speak out. I know that time may make some things easier and others perhaps even harder. So I'm very grateful that you're choosing
Thank
to
you very
speak,
much.
and thank you.
I appreciate you.
Wired did this a few months back. This is the definitive list of everyone that we know of that was on Epstein's Lolita Island. Wired tracked every visitor. I would assume that we just know all the locations and everything. This is a really interesting piece by Wired. U.S. Government employee has been hit with an exit ban, along with a Wells Fargo banker unable to leave China.
Now to some developments out of China. The State Department says a U.S. government employee is blocked from leaving the country due to an exit ban, and he's not the only one. An Atlanta-based managing director at Wells Fargo is also being held in China. I want to bring in
what did they do?
A national security reporter, Olivia Gazis, who's reporting from Washington this morning for us. So this is really interesting, Olivia. What do we know about this exit ban that China is issuing on these Americans, and why is it happening now?
Yeah, Vlad, this appears to be a troubling set of escalatory moves by China. As you say, there are two cases of interest right now to the U.S. In the case of this Wells Fargo employee, Chen Yu Mao, she was born in Shanghai but has been working out of Atlanta here in the U.S. And Chinese authorities have said she's subject to an exit ban because they claim she's part of a criminal investigation. They've provided no details as to what it was about or whether she's the target of that investigation. But in the meantime, Wells Fargo said it's tracking the case and it's suspending all of its executives' travel to China while this unfolds. News of her detention came amid this other case involving an American citizen. The State Department confirmed yesterday that a U.S. Patent and Trademark Office employee who was traveling to China in a personal capacity was also made subject to an exit ban. China has said that that's because he didn't disclose on his paperwork, essentially, that he is a government employee. We don't currently have more information than that. The State Department said that they're working closely with Chinese officials to resolve the matter. And it is worth noting that they warn U.S. citizens China is a level 2 travel country because of this risk of apparently arbitrary enforcement of local laws that can result in exit bans. Vlad, one of the most provocative things a country can do is detain the citizen of another country.
We do that.
So if this isn't resolved quickly, these already high tensions with Beijing could really spike.
All right. Let me also pivot to this, Olivia. The Trump administration has released thousands of files.
How is what China
assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King
does any different than what we do?
Opposition from the King family. A lot of people online are suggesting that this is a way to distract from the Epstein files, which is really what people want to see. In fact, as you know, one of Dr. King's daughters, Bernice King, did tweet a photo of her father with the caption, "Now do Epstein." But talk about why Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been involved in this. And what are we learning from these files?
Well, Marco.
So the first part first, you know, Vlad, Marco Rubio wears many hats these days, serving as interim national security advisor, Secretary of State, and his involvement here has to do with his additional role as acting U.S. archivist. The files were posted yesterday to the website of the National Archives. This was a multi-agency effort to digitize and declassify what officials said were hundreds of thousands of pages of documents related to Dr. King's assassination. Historians and journalists are still combing through them for major revelations. We know among the contents are details related to the leads that the FBI was
following. Not going to be any major revelations
of the 1968 assassination. And as you say, they were released over the objections of the King family, who acknowledged that there's lots of hot public interest in what is in these files, in the government's actions, in the details of Dr. King's life, but they have been pleading that that the information contained here is viewed in a considerate historical context. This declassification is part of a series that the Trump administration has carried out. The president personally has called for. His director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is executing. As you say, it's not exactly clear why all of them were released now and so suddenly, possibly as part of a diversion from other headlines.
Indeed. All right, Olivia Gazis, as always, great to talk to you.
Diversion from Epstein. Elena Haba, no longer a U.S. attorney as of this evening. Trump's personal attorney that he appointed as interim district attorney.
News to bring you regarding Elena Haba. Remember, she was Trump's pick to serve as the acting interim U.S. attorney there in the District of New Jersey. Now, there has been a lot of shakeup in that very office.
The
so we got to go back.
Interim appointment expires.
Ago. So let's go back. I want to read to you what happened. So earlier today, U.S. District Court judges from New Jersey rejected Haba and voted against retaining her during the meeting.
Oh, yeah. Elena Haba can absolutely be my GOP mommy. Very nice.
Meeting that was on Monday. That meeting was on Monday yesterday. They have now selected Desiree Grace, Haba's first assistant, to replace her. Now, the 37-year-old Grace has been a federal prosecutor since 2016. She was serving as chief of the criminal division when Haba named her first assistant in April. Now, Haba reached the maximum 120-day limit to serve as the interim U.S. attorney today. And remember, she needed either a vote of the U.S. Senate to confirm her nomination or the support of the state's federal judges to continue. Now, there is still a path for Haba to remain in the post for another 210 days. This after federal judges in upstate New York tried to remove Trump's U.S. attorney, John Sarcone III, was instead appointed special attorney to the attorney general and first assistant U.S. attorney of the Northern District of New York. So that was earlier today. That was reported. These federal judges got together at this meeting yesterday there in New Jersey and did not elect to have Haba continue in her role serving as the acting top prosecutor in the state of New Jersey. Okay, now, about an hour ago, the Department of Justice has intervened. We are hearing from Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're hearing from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche about this here. So this is what we know. You hear there from Bondi. She says that U.S. Attorney Haba has been doing a great job in making New Jersey safe again. Nonetheless, politically minded judges refused to allow her to continue in her position, replacing Elena with the first assistant. Whoa. Bondi says, accordingly, the first assistant United States attorney in New Jersey has just been removed. This Department of Justice does not tolerate rogue judges, especially when they threaten the president's core Article 2 powers. So, what just happened? Haba's first assistant attorney there, remember her name, Desiree Grace, in the very same day, she has now been removed as first assistant U.S. attorney after being picked by New Jersey's federal judges to replace Elena Haba as the state's top federal prosecutor. Bondi, you just heard her say there in this post on X that Haba has been doing a great job in making New Jersey safe again. Remember, the U.S. District Court judges, they voted not to extend the 120-day term of Haba as U.S. attorney. That term expires midnight Friday. Those judges instead chose Desiree Grace as her successor. This is happening literally in 36 hours. And now Desiree Grace, Haba's successor, has been removed by Attorney General Pam Bondi. So unless the DOJ files a lawsuit, though, according to NewJersey.com, Grace is still set to replace Haba on Saturday morning. Only the president, President Trump, can fire her. So we'll have to wait and see whether the president intervenes, though his attorney general has intervened. I believe we have yet another post as well from the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, saying that the district judges in New Jersey just proved this was never about law. It was about politics. They forced out President Trump's pick, Alina Habba, then installed her deputy, colluding with the New Jersey senators along the way. It won't work. Pursuant to the president's authority, we have removed that deputy effective immediately. This backroom vote will not override the authority of the chief executive. So, like I said,
this clown show of a country we live in. Do a couple of crime stories here before we get out of here. Remember the dog, the big bad dog?
My grandson, this is Anthony, and he is here for the summer to visit Dog and I. Say hi to everybody.
Hi. Dog the bounty hunter's step-grandson killed by his own father in what appears to be a freak accident. According to reports, 13-year-old Anthony Zecca was shot Saturday by his dad Gregory at an apartment in Naples, Florida.
I'm wondering, what is this?
Authorities are
Sounds like a not responsible gun owner.
an isolated incident. No arrests have been made.
How have you handled it? Much prayer and fasting. I will have no fear.
Gregory's mom, Francie Chapman, married Dog in 2021 after they both lost their spouses to cancer.
Francie's husband passed 6 months before Beth, and I knew right away that this was love, and of course I moved fast, right? There couldn't have been ever
a
better pick that God picked. Never.
My grandson calls him Grandpa Dog already. We went to his school last week and picked him up from school.
Can't call him Grandpa Dog anymore.
Ever. So they love him.
The couple tells TMZ through a rep, quote, "We are grieving as a family over this incomprehensible tragic accident and would ask for continued prayers."
God is moving fast everywhere.
Yep, God comes at you fast, doesn't he?
Anthony even sharing this story with his grandma Francie last year.
When it first came, it hit me like, bah. But when it came again, it hit me like from the back.
And what do you think that was?
The Holy Spirit.
That is so.
The Holy Spirit.
I'm proud of you and how it's important for us to have Jesus in our life.
Yeah.
Because
Jesus. Hell yeah.
For sure.
You motherfuckers need Jesus. Finn Fox, welcome in. I mentioned earlier Pat Tillman, a man who was killed in the Iraq War by friendly fire. The U.S. government covered it up. His brother drove a vehicle into a San Jose post office.
Begin in San Jose, where a post office burst into flames after a car drove into the building. Police say the man behind it is Richard Tillman, the younger brother of NFL star and American hero, the late Pat Tillman.
Happened early this morning, just before 3 a.m. at the Almaden Station Post Office. Police think that Tillman drove a car into the post office and then started a fire. Don Lynn's got more on what happened and why.
The big question is why. Investigators will come back on Monday to do some more digging. Workers boarded up the front of the lobby. The car that was driven inside is left in there. Neighbors who live across from the post office say a loud explosion woke them up early Sunday morning.
It's absolutely insane that even happened.
I went to the window, seen the fire engulfing, and then we ran out and kind of seen what was going on.
The couple, Heather and Shane Roberts, say they saw a man with long hair and a beard not far from the fire.
I was watching his actions and just seeing what he was doing, and he was pacing back and forth and
drinking a beer.
Yeah, it looked like
drinking a beer.
Looked like he had a beer in his hand, and yeah, he was on his phone. So
We heard him talking about something about a federal offense and going to jail and something about Trump.
The fire department and police arrived quickly, and San Jose police arrested 44-year-old Richard Tillman. About 50 firefighters put out the flames, but investigators say the post office is a total loss.
It certainly seems like a possibility that this fire was intentionally set. Why anybody would do that, like I said, is beyond explanation.
The U.S. Postal Inspector says they don't yet know the motive. It appears the driver reversed a car into the lobby. Investigators believe shortly after, the person set the building on fire. The suspect also tagged the front of the building with Viva La, which means long live in Spanish.
As far as what the message means, that's a very...
Viva La Me.
Certainly, I think we're all looking at, like, well, the way you might finish this sentence is Viva La Mexico, but that doesn't make sense either. So, we're looking for an explanation.
Viva La Me.
IMDb.
Long live me.
An online database of information about films and television programs. Tillman worked as an actor between 2003 and 2010 and appeared in several films. Richard is the younger brother of the late Pat Tillman. Pat left his NFL career to enlist in the U.S. Army after the 9/11 attacks. He was later killed by friendly fire.
It's sad to see. I grew up here, and it's just we have never had anything like this happen before.
Like most people in the South Bay, the Roberts say they have a lot of respect for the Tillman family and now wonder about Richard Tillman's mental health.
We didn't know what kind of mind state he was in and if he would try and harm us.
No bail is allowed for Richard Tillman. For now, he is scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday at 12 p.m. We did reach out to Mary Tillman, the mother of Pat and Richard Tillman. We so far have not gotten a response. The family home is about 4 miles away from the scene. We understand Mary Tillman sold the house about 2 months ago to move to Arizona.
And while the Almaden Station Post Office is temporarily closed, USPS says that mail pickup for P.O. Box customers and notice left mail for customers will be available at the Willow Glen Post Office on Meridian Avenue.
So apparently the dude had been live streaming. Might have been in the conspiracy pipeline. Tillman's brother had been live streaming his altered self on social media before allegedly crashing a car into the post office. The family of former NFL player and Army hero Pat Tillman said his brother Richard Tillman has been battling severe mental issues for years after the news of his arrest. In a statement to NBC Bay Area, Kevin Tillman, the brother of Pat and Richard, explained that Richard has been live streaming what I'll call his altered self on social media, that the family has been unsuccessful in their attempts to get him proper care. Family is aware that my brother Richard has been arrested first and foremost. We are relieved that no one was physically harmed, Kevin said in a statement. To be clear, it's no secret that Richard has been battling severe mental health issues for many years. He has been live streaming what I'll call his altered self on social media for anyone to witness. Fortunately, securing proper care and support for him has proven incredibly difficult, or rather impossible. As a result, none of this is as shocking as it should be. We have nothing further to add at this time. Being held on a 60-gram bond. Suspect allegedly told officers on the scene that he's the brother of the late NFL star Pat Tillman, and that he live streamed the event on a social media platform. U.S. Postal Inspector Matthew Norfleet said investigators are considering the fire an intentional act and are investigating the incident. If the incident was live streamed, dude looked fucking ripped apparently. With his green sneakers. I'm going to skip the last couple of stories here because I am really hungry. I think it's kind of giving me a headache. So we're just going to watch some Puppy Bus and get out of here.
Mountain Mutts.
Mountain Mutts.
You guys like a complimentary treat?
It is Lady's birthday.
Got a birthday in the house. If you have your Mountain Mutt calendar, We have all the dog birthdays, so today is Lady's birthday. Tomorrow is Wrigley's. We'll start with the birthday girl here in her cute little birthday tutu.
Oh!
Her sister Fiona. Uncle Max, I think, to them. Dayshu. Miss. Murray.
Murray. Oh, he was.
The bus door. Bama.
Hey, Bama.
Whiskey. Hey, go outside. Fern, watch out. Doggies are Slade. Carol.
You should totally go follow Puppy Bus. Here's the video I just
Jameson.
I just queued up. If you're not following Puppy Bus, go follow him. Mo Mountain Mutts in Segway, Alaska.
Monty.
Oh my God! Look at his haircut.
You look like you've been rolling in the grass there, Lucy. Last time you went around the line and got in the back and got double, and I didn't notice.
Yeah. You slick.
Last time I did this, Lucy got in line again and got a double without me noticing. You did, didn't you?
What a smart baby.
Would you guys like a complimentary treat with your bus ride? Got a birthday in the house. If you have your Mo Mountain Mutt calendar, we have all the dog birthdays, so today is Lady's.
I should give me a Mo Mountain Mutt calendar.
Wrigley's. We'll start with the birthday girl here in her cute little birthday tutu. Lady. Her sister Fiona. Uncle Max, I think, to them.
Twitch people, you're heading over to Carla. We're gonna go for a wild ride with Carla.
Murray. You just
go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before we hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. What am I doing not liking this video? I'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.